the Home and Community-Based Services at Aging Matters in Brevard. What we're here to kind of discuss is some different options about emergency alert systems and how we can really help our seniors in Brevard County. With COVID upon us, and isolation is such a huge problem with people living alone without people being able to visit the home. Our seniors are at such a high risk of having something happening to them in the home with no one around. Now more than ever, we really need to make sure that our seniors are safe and have the support that they need to be able to stay safe in their home. Emergency alert devices for seniors are a great alternative to assisted living or to going into a nursing home, and they allow seniors to get back their independence, by living really a healthy and an independent lifestyle. So our goal here today is to talk about what we can do to keep our aging population stay safe, unharmed, and uninjured as much as possible while still maintaining that quality of life in their home. So first off, I'd like to take a moment and to introduce each of our panel members. They are the experts in the field and have the knowledge to be able to really help us get through this. So I'll start just by, I am again, Ali Almazian, the Program Director of the Home and Community-Based Services at Aging Matters in Brevard. So I oversee everything in the home and in the community, basically, with several different programs under our umbrella. So first, I'd like to start with Beth. Beth, she works with Aging Matters here with us. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, good news. Before we started this taping, both Olivia and Darren said, well, tell me about yourself, and now I can do it without repeating myself because I didn't get to it. My name is Beth Shibley, and thank you, Allie. I'm originally, just a little personal stuff about me first, I'm originally from upstate New York, so I shout out to the Great Lakes and those up in Michigan. I understand, I'm from Buffalo, so I understand long winters. And I worked in nonprofit senior services for about spitting distance of 20 years. The majority of which were in northern New England and New Hampshire. And I spent, most recently, I've been was down in Houston, Texas for a handful of years. I joined the team with Aging Matters in Brevard as director of the Sunflower House back in April when the world was tipping up on its head. So I actually have no idea what Sunflower House actually does when it's actually working, because I wasn't there for any of that, so surprise. Sunflower House, for those who don't necessarily know, and I don't know that anybody here that's joining us understands, is a caregiver resource center that's part of Aging Matters in Brevard. It's actually a physical location in a mall on Merritt Island, it serves people who are caring for their loved ones throughout our county, which is Brevard County, with informational, educational, and recreational resources like presentations, workshops, printed flyers, support groups, and regular activities like our exercise classes and our very popular Friday movies. And a big part of also what we offer at Sunflower House is durable medical equipment bank, which allows us to accept and loan out at no cost previously used items like walkers and wheelchairs, and we also have some incontinence supplies. So that's a little kind of Reader's Digest version of who I am and what I'm doing. So thanks, Allie. Absolutely. Great to have you here, Beth. Thank you. Secondly, I would like to introduce to you Darren Buhati, right? Sorry. Darren Buhati. Go ahead, Darren. Why don't you tell us?
Thank you, Allie. Sure. I first and foremost want to appreciate you guys, you putting this panel together, having all of us, the companies on this panel discuss about medical alert units and services that we provide not only throughout the United States, but also within Florida. I am the Partner Engagement Manager for Florida. So my job mainly is to educate the case managers, some of the care coordinators on our medical alert units and services and what makes us so unique, which is we have a social care team that's part of our response team here in Novi, Michigan. But obviously with Florida, going through some major COVID changes, medical alert units and services are much needed for the senior population. and today we'll be discussing, why having a medical alert is so important and what type of services that come with those medical alerts. A little known nugget of myself, I have triplets that are 16. So I have 2 boys and a girl. So life has just started for me. They just started to drive. So I'm looking at possibly getting maybe three cars.
Oh God.
Or I can just get 1 car and have them all fight over it. But we'll see. That could be more problems than what it's worth.
Oh, and
But
college. and college
yeah.
too.
So I know. Well, first I'm dealing with driving, and then college.
Yeah.
So I do one day at a time, just like COVID.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for having us on.
Absolutely. Thanks, Darren. And third, I'd like to introduce Olivia Adams, who also works with Darren. So Olivia, could you tell me a little bit about yourself, or tell us?
Yes, of course. So as you said, my name is Olivia Adams, and I'm the Senior Partner Engagement Manager here. So I oversee the partner engagement team and work very closely with our region of accounts, Florida being one of them. So we host many presentations and do webinars and lots of educational trainings for our partners. I've been with CST Best Buy Health for almost 5 years and started off on our social work team here. So I kind of oversaw the social work team and kind of went over into the partner engagement field and now educate all of our partners on the social work resources and ways that we can incorporate our emergency response devices with our social care team and how we can put that together in helping our seniors. So very excited to be here and talk about that today with you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Olivia. And lastly, I'd like to introduce Randy Merowitz. Did I say it right, Randy?
You did, absolutely.
Awesome. So
Good
go ahead. Why don't you tell
job.
us a little bit about yourself, please?
Okay, yeah, no problem. Again, my name's Randy. I am the Florida rep for Personal Response Corporation out of Miami. That is our Florida division, all things Medicaid, long-term living, aging, out of Florida, division of Connect America. Connect America is made up of 6 different companies, 4 of which I am involved in. So outside of Florida, I do carry Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, and I'm on the plan integration team nationally for healthcare organization engagement. We set up Medicaid in a new state. I'm running point on those meetings to identify the plans and the benefits that are available to the people. My background, I'm a military veteran. I did 7 years active duty in the Army. Decided that Florida wasn't for me when I got back from the Army. We packed up and we moved up to Pittsburgh, and I stayed there for about 15 years before moving back down here. Up there, I got into the Medicaid space as a waiver provider for home modifications, PERS, and DME. So to deal with accreditations and Medicare, PERS was just the most natural fit for me because I know that people need the help. And I've been to several of the case manager luncheons that happen around the state and even in other states. And my thing is, and I know that there's several of us that sponsor it, and anytime that there's a PERS company that's providing to your membership is a huge benefit, regardless of who it's coming from, because although there are some very large PERS companies out there, we're all competitors, we're only serving about 2 million, maybe 2.2 million of those in need in the whole nation. I mean, so you think about how many people in your county alone are eligible seniors that don't have it. So I'm grateful to be part of a panel to kind of get the word out there and help it grow. I do have, I'm married for, I'm going to be 29 years next April. I got married at 18. I have 3 kids, 27 and 24, and my son just turned 21 and he just got out of the Air Force. So a little bit of a military family going on here. I'm real excited about being a part of this, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Great. Awesome. So we're going to get started, everyone. Please know that a list of resources at the end of this are going to be provided at the end of the discussion panel for us to be able to spread out and get the word out about these resources that we have. So I'm going to kind of go around and ask some questions. We're going to start with Randy. Please explain what the emergency alert system is, and can you explain the features or the differences of the mobile versus the GPS units, kind of the differences between them and the features of them, please?
Sure. So emergency alert response systems, some of you guys call them EARS, emergency alert response systems. Some, depending on the program, call it emergency response systems. Those of us that are really entrenched in the business call it a personal emergency response system, because that's what it's there for, is to serve the client in the event of a personal emergency. And so basically what it is you'll have a unit. It'll either be a hub that sits in the home, and you can see what they have over there at CST on the desk. There's a couple of home base units from what I can see there, cellular, yeah. So it'll either be an in-home unit that's cellular in nature or connected to a traditional landline. What'll happen is that the member would have either a pendant around their neck or a button around their wrist, or if they are a frequent faller, they may have a fall detection button that looks like so, that will automatically send a signal to the unit in the event that a fall is detected. What we're seeing now more and more, it leans more towards the personal aspect of a personal emergency response system, where they will have an all-in-one unit around their person. Now, everybody normally refers to these as a mobile GPS. I refer to them as an all-in-one cellular device. Why? Because there's no difference in cellular connection between this unit and an LTE in-home cellular unit. It's still talking to the same network, right? But this right here gives the ultimate peace of mind, because you have a two-way speaker and the button on the device, right? This one in particular happens to be able to hook up to a pendant or wrist button, or have an independent fall detection. We have other models that have built-in fall detection. That's all features and benefits of the different levels of manufacturing. But if you paint this picture, okay, let's go real world. You have a client has a fall in the shower. That's where they're most prone to falls, or in the wet surface areas, right? We can all agree on that. They're wearing a standard in-home system with a pendant around their neck. They push that button, the water's running, the fan is on, the bathroom door is closed. They just fell in the shower. Even though they're going to push that button and action is going to be taken from the unit that might be sitting in the living room or the bedroom, the peace of mind is not there, because they don't know if they're being responded to. So that causes, it raises panic levels, fear, anxiety, all things that are avoidable with a device that they can talk. This is a shower and bath safe unit. They can just press this button, or if they're wearing one of their things and this is sitting on the bathroom counter, it doesn't matter which way they want to do it, they'll have a two-way conversation and they'll know that help is on the way. Subsequently, if they are out in community, let's say, we're dealing with the COVID isolation, but people still want to get out and walk. Seniors have to stay active, or their health conditions can turn on them very quickly. If they're out taking a walk, they have an emergency, they press their button, they don't know where they are, they might be disoriented. The operator will be able to do a GPS location on them, because this has a GPS that's always on. It'll refresh their location. Paramedics will go right to them.
Great. Awesome. I think it's important to know that there are different systems and there's different units that can be used. Randy, again, explain why someone should consider the mobile, the emergency alert response system versus the in-home one. What would be the difference as to why someone might choose one or the other?
So with the way technology is now, I mean, it's grown in leaps and bounds. I think the first reliable GPS PERS units came out in the tail end of 2013. They were on the AT&T 3G network. And, it was really tough to tell whether or not a call was being made. The volume wasn't very good. It was kind of like having a flip phone on a half volume speakerphone to hear the operator. You had to be really close to it. The way these systems are now is like this particular device, there's a cradle with a connected button. It's the same setup as an in-home system, but now when they leave the house, they can just take this with them and be covered anywhere. So it's kind of that hybrid. Everything's kind of shrunk down into one. This is kind of the way of the future. And truth be told, the main reason why I think a lot of us out there still have in-home systems is because there are still a lot of waiver and state programs that are stuck in the Stone Age. And they associate PERS with just a landline. We're not paying for our people to have anything else. And it's on companies like us to keep delivering the same message to say, you are not helping with isolation. You are not helping with, with activity, increased physical activity by making the people feel like they have to be tied to a leash at home. So that's where this comes into play, or any version of a mobile model that can sit in a charger in the home, or they can carry it from room to room, whatever. It's the kind of like Southwest Airlines, you're free to roam about the country. That's what you got with this too. I can't steal their tagline and put it in print, but I can use it. So that's why we lean more to it. And I will tell you, down in Florida, about 70% of what we put out through the AAA lead agencies, through CCE and Title III, and through Managed Care, PACE, any of those organizations, about 70% is mobile product. And the other 30% is heavily weighted down by in-home product because they just don't let us offer mobile product for some agents. They're even if we say you can have it for the same price as the in-home, they assume that there's going to be this high level of liability. It's very hard to convince them otherwise. So that's where I like working with the other companies, because if CST or if Guardian or somebody like that goes in and they deliver the same exact message, then I'm not crazy.
Right.
Same for them. We're here to support each other because our mission is one of care. We want people to stay home as long as possible. These programs can work. People are there to protect them. And it's personal for me. I've shared with you before, my wife wears fall detection button attached to a mobile PERS because of her neurological conditions. It's not always just aging, and it's not always somebody sitting in a wheelchair, that might be wheelchair bound. There are hidden, you don't know who's going to need it and when. This gives people a lot more freedom, and it's available. And we try to coach, even through the case management level, look, try it out. We can always, if it's not working, we can always fall back to an in-home unit. So that's why that's just the way the industry is leaning.
Great. Thanks, Randy. It is an education piece. It's something that we all need to educate everyone on and to let them know the differences between them, and that the mobile alert is available. So Darren, besides the client, who would most benefit from having the alert system? Who would you say, besides the client, would be the next up?
I would say first and foremost, it would be the family members that are maybe taking care of their older family member or their mom or their dad. It's a comfort for them to know that if their family member is will be involved in a fall, we have the technology. All the PERS companies have it, where fall detection, it will pick up that potential fall for that member and send a signal back to a care center, and then they'll be able to address that. But I'd say first and foremost, the family members that want to be able to sleep at night knowing that their family member is covered 24/7. Then, like Randy said, we work with case managers throughout the country, and that's another benefit of a member having a medical alert button is, the PERS companies can be a personal assistant and be a supportive, for their particular member. Again, we could be the eyes and ears of their member, of hearing about their member, finding out about their member before that case manager. And then also would be the primary care physician. There are programs that the PERS companies have where we're being proactive in reaching out to the member, getting them to the doctor's appointment or setting up transportation. So it's, I think there's a kind of a circle of a lot of people that's all involved in your members, not only in Florida, but around the United States that can benefit from having, one person have a medical alert device.
Yeah, I didn't really think about, I should because I oversee the case managers and kind of deal with them on a day-to-day basis. But, I really didn't think about that. And it kind of goes back to, we have a home care program in Aging Matters who works with private pay clients as well as Medicaid. And we're trying to work on making sure that our registered nurse who goes and sees them is pushing some of those things and some of those extra systems out there, because not only will the family feel at ease, but the case manager might have less calls, less issues, maybe knowing that there's an extra line of resource or extra line of security for the client at that point. It's true. Darren, also, the population of our seniors in Brevard County specifically is growing rapidly year from year. Our baby boomers are coming up and they're at that age, and, they're in between caring for maybe their parents too, and while caring for their spouse or whatever. And they're trying to maintain their independence, and it's a huge priority to maintain that independence and quality of life to their loved ones as well as themselves. How can having a unit improve the lives of our aging population?
Yeah, when you talk about the senior landscape, not only in Florida but across the United States, I did have an interesting fact that I was able to pick up that for the first time in U.S. history, by 2034, people 65 and over will outnumber those under 18. So as you can see, obviously the age of 65 and over are increasing on a daily basis. But how can the medical alerts improve it is, having a medical alert for us at least, we're helping address the social determinants of health. The food insecurity, transportation. It could be used in many more ways than, I hate to say it, I fall and I can't get up. Like Randy, I can't take that tagline, but it's the old commercials of just hit it for an emergency. That's changing. A lot of these PERS companies like ourselves are really focusing on other needs that again, the case manager, I get a lot of calls from the case manager asking what has this particular member pressed their buttons in the last 30 to 45 days. Obviously now before COVID, they're trying to figure out before going into a home visit how they're feeling, what they're like, versus the case manager going in and saying, how was the last 45 days? And the member says, oh, it was great up until I went to the hospital for the last 2 weeks, and then the case manager didn't even know what happened. So, again, the eyes and ears that these PERS companies can be for the case managers who really want to help them supplement the services that they provide. And then, having access to their member, or the member can have access to our services 24/7 is huge.
Yeah, very true for sure. Now, on to Olivia, especially now, during the global pandemic that we're all going through and experiencing every single day, social isolation, loneliness, depressed episodes happen frequently. How can this device be used for the seniors to combat these ever happening issues with this fragile population?
Yeah, unfortunately, this pandemic really affected the aging population, really affected the seniors, because a lot of the senior population, they live alone. And so they rely on their healthcare providers and healthcare workers coming into their homes and assisting them, or family members coming in to remind them to take medication and assist them with, their day-to-day needs. And with the social distancing requirements, workers were no longer going into those members' homes. Their families were staying distant from seniors, especially because of their high risk if they were to get COVID. So we definitely have seen a huge increase in the PERS utilization since March. We've had seniors press their button and say, I don't know what to do. I don't know who can help me. I need someone to remind me to take my medication. I need help scheduling doctor's appointments and different things like that. And I don't believe that many knew how badly this was affecting the senior population. So we had members press their button simply because they were lonely and just wanted someone to talk to. So we would have a social care worker just come on the line and talk to them and answer any of their questions they had and just really be there for, social reassurance. We had members press their button and really just ask what we can do to support them throughout this time of need. So constantly reminding them they can press their button 24 hours a day. They can press their button if they need help reminding them to take their medication. So different things like that our team was able to really step up and help out in. And we had created a social isolation program where we were calling our members and really just checking in on them every day, kind of keeping track of their progress throughout this pandemic. And if they needed help scheduling a virtual appointment, we were scheduling the virtual appointment for them. And all they were doing is simply just through the press of a button, they were able to get this help. So I think it was just it's really rewarding knowing that we were able to help this specific population during a pandemic.
So, Olivia, you made some good points into that. I don't think I realized how important it is to really have one during this pandemic. I mean, we all know that there's isolation, there's depression, there's not ever getting out of their home, and fear is a big thing right now. And, I've worked in home health agencies before where the home health company had one of their own, and they had always told stories about people calling in and just talking every night. It was kind of their tuck-in service. And they had mentioned at one point, and this was always kind of my selling point to the home care company that I worked with, or the home health company that I worked with, was that this one particular person that worked during that time answered that call, the intake person answered that call every single day, realized that Mrs. Smith didn't call that one day. And they actually reached out to her, and she was getting in the hospital. She was in the process of getting transported to hospital. So it is really important to notice how much these devices help our seniors and help our caregivers have a peace of mind. I mean, it's definitely scary times, and the unknown is up there, and no one really has a clue as to what's going to happen yet. Or, we could be in this new normal for months, years, we really don't know. So, so Randy, we know that one of the main reasons people get the system is because, like Darren and Olivia said, help, I've fallen, I can't get up. Why is the fall detection so important in these devices?
So it's important for a variety of reasons. First and foremost, if someone lives alone and they fall and they're knocked out on the floor, they're unconscious, nobody else lives there to come find them. So if they are in a neurological type situation where their blood pressure drops and it causes them to pass out, they hit the floor so hard that they now are concussed, they can't move, that fall detection button is going to save that person's life. Hands down. But it's also, it's a combination of things. I think I told you at the beginning, I used to be in the home mod business, and we would come in and do assessments. And, we were assessing for ramps, for wheelchair access, stair lifts. We were dealing with Pittsburgh, not Florida. Stair lifts, not only to get them to the top floor, but to be able to get them out of the basement. So we did a lot of multi-stair lift homes. But one of the things that I used to coach my people to look out for was tripping hazards. those comfort mats are real nice in the kitchen to stand on, but those are not very trip hazard friendly. A lot of people do trip over those because they stick up about a half an inch up off the floor. Tables where maybe there doesn't need to be a coffee table anymore, or an end table or an area rug should be moved because now they're in a walker. If anyone is tied to any kind of durable medical device, let it be a cane or a walker, crutches, because maybe they just rehabbed, fall detection is essential because those people are instantly a fall risk because they are now adapting to another piece of equipment. If it's somebody who's a senior that might be a post amputee for a diabetic, they just lost their leg. They just went from being able to walk around their house, albeit with pain, to not having that leg there anymore. Now they've got to wait, and it takes sometimes 3 to 4 different fittings for the proper prosthetic. They're a fall risk. If they live alone and they fall into those categories of medical need, absolutely the fall detection button is of the greatest importance. And I just did want to address that. What I like about what I'm hearing from Darren and Olivia is a lot of the same message that I've been delivering. So it is refreshing to hear it from, even though CST is a competitor on a national scale. That's just it. They are a national scale provider, just like our company is. And we have to deliver this message nationally to many different organizations, not just seniors. So we're dealing with traumatic brain injury, acquired brain injury, developmental, mental disabilities. And the whole thing, when they were talking about the isolation, I agree wholeheartedly. We have seen more button pushes from people just to have somebody to talk to on a daily basis. The PERS referrals in the state of Florida have increased by 65%.
Wow.
The start of COVID with our company. I have done so many Zoom webinars. Like I said, I should have bought stock in Zoom.
We all should have. Yeah.
We have, it's like we can't get our new people trained up fast enough. So I sit in on a lot of things, and we're having these same discussions. And like I said, it's refreshing. I know some of the things that CST does, and they're innovative. You're lucky to have them as a partner. Absolutely. It's good to see. And what Darren was saying, going back to the case manager, you know how I am with that. The case manager, I don't know how many cases your case managers are supposed to have versus what they actually work. But that one fax or email communication can save their day or save their next day because of all the services that they have to make changes to because they just found out from the PERS that person is in the hospital. We're all fighting as PERS companies to be recognized as healthcare companies. Not like Darren said, help by falling and I can't get up. We are a healthcare partner. We deliver some communication. We function as a conduit between agency, member, payer, hospital, ambulance company, mother, father, sister down the road, pharmacist, I forgot to pick up my medicine, whatever it may be. I love what I'm hearing. That's all. I'll be quiet.
It's true. It's that partnership between, I think, not just seniors, not just people with brain injuries, not just people with any disability. It's a great partnership to have, and it's super important for everyone to get the word out about how these units can really save lives, like you guys have said. They can keep the isolation low, keep the depression low, and this is exactly why we want to do this, is to get the word out about services for not just seniors, but for caregivers who might be coming up on the time down the road. I think we all know that if we weren't in this field, we might be just as lost as some of the other caregivers and families are out there too. So and kind of on the flip side, Olivia, this goes to you. I know that many people don't want to have an emergency alert because they might be gaudy, they might be ugly. There's a fear of pushing the button and having an ambulance come, and then there's a huge scene happening in their neighborhood. There seems to be a bit of a stigma about these types of devices. What are some tips that you can share with caregivers to help them, for lack of better words, persuade their loved ones to get a unit?
Yeah, definitely. We get that a lot from our members. They'll say it's too big, or I know Randy was showing a couple of the different pendants, and as you can see, when you're going from an in-home unit, you just have your standard one that you wear on your neck or wrist. But if you decide to switch to mobile, it tends to get a lot bigger. And so members will go to the mobile device and realize it's bigger and simply not want it because of its size, or say it's too gaudy. So what we tell our members is it's about the service. It's about what happens when you press that button. Try not to think of, is it fashionable? They've definitely come around since PERS first came out. So they are a bit more modernized. But we tell members, if you need to get fancy with it, we've had members put little gems on it and just, doll it up. We've had some interesting pendants come back with us that people have, add their special touches to it. But we tell people it's really about the service that you're getting. It's not about the button at all. You might see as all of us providers, we have the same units, so it's really the service that's being provided, having the social reassurance of a company that's behind that button press. And not only that, but it's helping them remain independent. It's taken the burden off a family. We'll have seniors say, I don't want to press that button because, I do fear that an ambulance is going to show up in the driveway. That's not necessarily true. If you press your button, we can call a family member first, or we can call, a case manager first if you choose. You set up the protocol that you want us to do. So there's just different, talking points that we have, especially with our case managers and the caregivers. Just reassure that member that they have this button because they're able to remain in their home. They have this button because they are able to be independent. They have this button because it's social reassurance. They're able to get help at a press of a button. I wish I had one. And I say that to all of our members. So it's just, I think, like we're doing here today, it's all about the education behind it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tag on a little question here to you guys, to Darren and Olivia. This is totally off, not even just coming off the top of my head, but, I've heard a lot of, well, I have a cell phone, I just carry my cell phone around. How do you fight and battle that one? Or what do you give tips to, it's a cell phone. It's no gaudier, or it is gaudier than it would be on a device on your wrist. And really, they look just like an Apple Watch or a smartwatch, when you have that device. No one's going to tell the difference. Right. But how do you kind of fight that battle or kind of deal with that?
Yeah, so Randy talked a lot about the fall detection. So that's huge. Your cell phones don't have fall detection. What if your cell phone's dead? What if you fell and you don't have time to grab your phone and press 911? What if you forgot your phone? A button is something you can simply wear at all times. It's easy access, especially if you fall and you have that fall sensor. You don't need to press a button. The fall sensor is going to go off. So I think educating on the fall detection aspect is super important as well. So just, especially when you're in the bathroom taking a shower that Randy touched base on, you don't have your cell phone with you while you're taking a shower. You can have this button on. The devices are water resistant. We always tell our members, ensure you have that button on at all times, especially if you're in the bathroom, because that is where falls are bound to happen. So just kind of, those talking points again about when you should always have your button on and the differences between a cell phone and the button itself. Yeah,
and unfortunately, there are states out there that if they find out their member is having a cell phone, they will not give out a PERS device. And there's actually they are seeing their healthcare costs rise for in the Medicaid space because like exactly what Olivia and Randy said. If you fall and you can't get to your phone, you're there's just no way to, to call anybody, call 911. We have all the PERS companies have the type of technology where it recognizes this could be a fall, and then we are proactive reaching out to that member.
They are super important to have. I mean, you think about everyone. I know a fear of mine is when I get older, falling. Right now, I'm limber enough to be able to fall and be okay. But the older you get, you're more frail. Your bones are just not the same as what they used to be when you're in, your teens or your 20s, 30s, even 40s. So it can be scary. And I think that's a big push. And we need to make sure that our people out there know what there is and what's available, all different levels of each unit. Yeah.
I mean, we've all had, if you've had a smartphone long enough, you've had one long enough to drop it in water, you've had it long enough to leave it on the bumper or the top of your car and drive off and have it damaged. So it's kind of like, well, yeah, the cell phone is great. It's a great convenience if you need to call someone or you need to look something up online. But, like you guys were saying, what happens if it is dead? Are you going to get in the shower with your cell phone, or are you going to get in the shower with a button? But also, people are on fixed incomes. A lot of folks, especially in the senior category, are working off of consumer cellular. They are out of minutes by the 15th or 20th of the month, and you know who those clients are that you can't call until their minutes reset. That is a big challenge because, they may get this phone. They're not on there tracking minutes like we used to do with candy bar phones back in the late 90s, early 2000s, because they're not getting billed for anything. So one of the other things, and this may help, and I always encourage case managers to say this, and Aaron and Olivia, you might see this in some other state programs. I don't know how far your reach is individually out of your office, but when I was in Pennsylvania, there were a couple of different waivers before they transitioned to managed care where the client was required to maintain 3 services just to stay on the waiver. PERS was always one of those services. Service coordination was the other one, and personal attendance was the third one, their home care. If they came off of any of those services and did not select something else like transportation or meals, then they were dropped, right? So where I'm getting to is the case manager can also stage the conversation like this. It would make my job easier as a manager of your services if you would have one of these, because of the amount of people that I have to manage on a daily basis. I don't want to miss out if something important or vital happens to you. So therefore, take this unit, set it on the end table, wear the button, start to form good habits. I promise you, when you do need it, it will be there for you, and it's going to keep you out of the nursing home and at home a lot longer.
And it does.
That's what it boils down to. And I know that talking with the loved ones and the family members, those are the hardest conversations to have. But here's where it gets real. I learned a long time ago, seniors and people living with disabilities have this feeling of invisibility, right? So especially when somebody else is in the room, like a caregiver or a family member, they try to overstep and intrude on that conversation. You got to have the conversation directly with the member. You have to talk to them, not about them when they're in the same room. Mm-hmm. And they'll respect that. And more when you're leaving the decision point blank up to them and not saying, okay, well, what do you think of this for your mom? Hey, what do you think of this for you? What do you think of this for you? And even say a joke. It'll get them off your back, and you won't have to hear them talk about nursing home or putting you in a home, because that's the last thing anybody wants here. What do you think? I mean, what does it hurt? To have that real conversation, just like you would with your own family.
Yeah. I think pre-COVID, I'm sure we've done our share of going to conferences and spending a couple of days talking to case managers. And, I get a lot of case managers, and with Olivia, I'm sure with Randy, they come up and say, wow, I need this for my mom because she calls me 5 times a day. And usually it's about nothing. or 10 times a day. And this is exactly what these PERS companies have made these units for. Now, obviously, especially with COVID, people are really hitting their buttons for being social isolation and loneliness. But everybody has a family member that calls them a lot, and usually doesn't amount to anything what they want, just a voice on the other end.
Yeah. It is that voice on the other end, like I mentioned before, it's just that person to say goodnight, and to get that reassurance that someone's there. So Beth, after kind of hearing all of this, and as a professional who assists caregivers with resources, why do you think it would be so important to offer this type of service?
Well, I think we've already gone over a huge number of reasons why all of these things are important. I'd like to, in advance of this panel, I took the liberty of looking up some notes, and just regarding falls. It's some of the statistics I came up with. Nobody in this panel is going to be surprised, but maybe people who are going to be watching it later might be surprised to know that every 11 seconds an older adult is treated in an emergency room for a fall, and that every 19 minutes an older adult dies from a fall, and that the falls are the leading causes of fatal injury and the most common cause of non-fatal trauma-related hospital admissions. And there were also a huge 99%, 95% of hip fractures are caused by falling. And falls are the most common cause of traumatic brain injuries. You fall and you hit your head, you're not going to have time to get into your purse and if you have and unlock it. Find your phone and unlock your phone by putting in the code or putting your thumb in if you've got a smartphone, or unflipping it open and then dialing 911. You're not going to have time for any of that. In addition to all of the social isolation and that feeling of confidence and comfort level that somebody else is looking after mom, there's something about it that just makes sense. My mom wears one of these, and my mom is in her early 80s, and she's still driving, and she still swims and plays golf and does all of these things, some of them more than others now with COVID. But she's been wearing one of them since my dad went into the nursing home a few years ago, because she said, I'm home by myself. My aunt has a unit, and my cousins always, whenever we get together with a bottle of wine, she's saying, I wish I could get my mom to not leave it on the bedside stand when she goes out shopping. So some of it's about educating and teaching them how to actually put it on and wear it. The unit that my mom has, she pins it to her bra. You don't know she'd have it on. I mean, they're not all of them do you have to wear around your neck like a sandwich board. The watches, and you can wear them and be discreet. And so I think that it's, it is a piece, I would say, to people who are helping to care for their loved ones in their homes, that 95%, 9 out of 10 people want to stay in their home and don't want to have to be placed. So if you know that this is it's one toy in the toy box, one tool in the toolbox to help you stay where you want to stay and help you maintain your own independence for as long as you want to be able to do it. And I think you're right, Randy, you need to be able to have that conversation with the particular person that it would be benefiting. I also think that it's something to be able to address with family members who have concerns, because Mom fell 4 times last month, and I live in Tennessee, and she lives in Rockledge, Florida, and I don't know what to do, and it was, the last time she fell, it was 2 days before somebody found her. So we got to do something here. And one of the things that I did before, when I was working in Northern New England, I have a story to tell. I would say to you that even people who are not necessarily people who are living, it's something to consider, even if you're not living alone.
Right.
Because the story I have to tell is the agency that I used to work for was a nonprofit that did Meals on Wheels and several other things in northern New England, and we had a couple that would go out and deliver. They delivered meals, and there was one couple that they were delivering meals to, and they never worried about Marv and Joan, because Marv and Joan were always together. So they weren't worried about all the other people on their route. There was maybe 10, 15 people on their route. Never worried about Marv and Joan, because all the other people were by themselves and lived way out west to East Overshoe in northern New England. Well, one day the husband got there and knocked on the door and looked in the window and saw that both of them were laying on the kitchen floor. Yeah. And he had gotten up, had some chest pain, went downstairs, thought that he could just kind of walk it off, maybe thought he could take some Alka-Seltzer, had a heart attack, landed on the floor. The wife comes downstairs, tries to pick him up off the floor. She falls and breaks her hip.
Yes.
And they found them both on the floor. Now, thank God, the Meals on Wheels caught this the next day. And thank God, that they were okay. And the good news was so there's a benefit there to having this discussion, even if you're a partnered couple, even if you're not aging by yourself.
You're 100%
you're not
right.
Always with one another. So we need to make sure that we're paying attention to our assumptions as we age, and who we think are safe and who we just don't assume is, And my mom was also saying the same thing. Now once you've moved here, because Mike and I lived in Houston until we moved here in April, and mom says, she said, well, maybe I'll think about not having that personal alert system. And the more and more she thought about it, she thought, no, I'm going to keep it because you're not always here. And I said, good idea, Mom. And it wasn't a hard sell for her. Not everybody has that forward-thinking parent, so that gets more complicated. But I think that there's all kinds of reasons. So that's why I would say it's important for us to make sure that we're offering the service as professional caregivers too. I think we can broach the subject.
Beth, I think you'd make a real good territory manager for this product.
Don't steal her.
Listen, you're preaching to the choir here. I've actually seen those cases where the caregiver gets injured trying to help their loved one, especially when you have all these programs with self-directed care, where you might have someone that's in their 80s have their son or daughter because they live at home, and they're in their 60s. And I mean, so like I'm 47, even though mentally I'm 18, physically I'm not. And you don't find your limitations sometimes until you actually break something. Mm-hmm. So that's a great way to tie it in. And in the end, it's a lot easier conversation if it goes like, hey, Mom, I want you to have one of these buttons so we can keep you safe at home or you're walking around the trails in the neighborhood. That's a lot easier conversation to have than it's time to move you into a facility.
So, and I'm gonna, since we're kind of getting close towards the time and I see the sun starting to glare down on the side of me soon, we're gonna kind of just go around the room and kind of give one, maybe two short, quick tips about safety tips about what we can do regarding staying safe in their home. Go ahead. I'm going to start back with Beth and just kind of circle around. Beth, what would be a tip or two that you could give about seniors staying safe in their home? My tip would be call Aging Matters in Brevard and find out what we can do to help you. Our agency is our mission. We are a .org, and our mission is to support independence, health, and safety and quality of the citizens of Brevard. So starting there, people who are caring for loved ones,
They can call the main number at 321-639-8770. They can call me at the Sunflower House at 321-452-4341, and we can talk to you about things that you might not even realize. You don't know what you don't know, and especially if you're just newly caregiving, if you're just newly to this world of caregiving to me was bringing the kids to the grandma once a year, and all of a sudden, grandma came home with a diagnosis of Parkinson's. And now all of a sudden, congratulations, you're the daughter that lives closest, and you're now the caregiver. You don't know what you don't know. So my suggestion would be call our organization. We can hook you up with all kinds of other services, including referrals to the personal emergency systems. So that's my tip. Call us.
Darren and Olivia, how about you guys?
I would say, obviously, first and foremost, wear your medical alert button, but also make sure that first and foremost it's charged if it's a mobile device. And make sure this is plugged in. I mean, all the PERS industry is, especially with the landline, cellular, mobile, it has to be plugged in. We've got members where we get alerts back saying that they don't. That there's low battery alert. So we're as proactive, just like Randy said, making sure these members are using these units and we get a strong signal from them. But it's, making sure that these are plugged in, because sometimes a family member may come over and say, I'm not sure what this is. I've never seen it. Unplug it. I don't know what my mom ordered, or, and because they're not up to date on it. So we tell people, please plug these units in, make sure that the mobile units have to be charged, just like a cell phone. And then, get them to hit their buttons, because the PERS companies out there can provide resources for them. We can direct resources for food insecurity, if they want to move from the first floor to the second floor. We want to educate the case managers and let them know that these medical alerts are a lot more than just that fallen and they can't get up.
Yeah, I would say a couple of safety tips that we always will ask our members or ensure that our members are doing is letting someone know if you have a hidden key somewhere. So if you are on the floor, they can get into your home. Or if we did have to send the fire department or, emergency services, where's that hidden key at so they can get in and they're not breaking down your door. Having a list of medications out or hanging a list of medications on your fridge so we know, are you allergic to something? I mean, emergency services doesn't want to, go to help a member and they have an allergy to a certain, medication they might have to give. So just really, things like that people don't necessarily will think about that can really help them.
And kind of mentioning about the hidden key and list of medications on your refrigerator, something that we have partnered, Aging Matters in Brevard has partnered with the Brevard County Fire Department, it's something called the Vial of Life. The Vial of Life and it's been around for a little while, but we have a lot of them, and we would like to be able to share that knowledge with a lot of our clients and caregivers out there. And basically, it is a little plastic container that inside has a couple stickers, one that you would place on your window or a door, and one you would place on your refrigerator. And what those stickers do is it tells the EMTs or the fire department that if they go in their freezer or they go in the refrigerator, there is this plastic round cup that inside has all of kind of your wishes, your advance directives. I'm a DNR. These are my medications. I'm allergic to this. This is my emergency contact, all of that. So those are some resources too, that might be nice, hey, I've got an emergency alert and please push the button and let them know, because I think we all know too. I think my fear is, and some of the flip side that maybe some people think about is, all right, I push this button, or what if I'm not able to push this button? What if I've knocked myself out cold and I don't have the fall detection, or, something like that. So hopefully the information is well utilized, and like you said, having a key hidden somewhere, those lock boxes, I know some of the emergency alerts have to be able to put on their door so they don't need to break down the door, which is a great invention and something that is just genius to think about. So simple, but just genius. So how about you, Randy? What are some tips that you think that you could give? 1 or 2 tips?
So I know that you mentioned that Aging Matters also has like a private duty nursing, right? So the main thing that I always recommend is to, again, I would also refer someone to an Aging Matters or whoever the AAA lead is in the county, because that's going to be the fastest way to get help, I think. I think the enrollment requirements are not nearly as time consuming to meet. And help can be there, right? Raising awareness. But I think that the best course of action is to almost coach whoever the family caregiver is to do their own kind of level of care assessment, right? What do those ADLs look like? Where are your trouble spots? Let me see you get in and out of the shower or step over the bathtub. Oh, I see you're having problems. Maybe we need a tub rail or a grab bar or some extra traction in the shower because, if you already have balance issues, this is a very slick tub bottom. To look at, any transition ramps for that 1 or 2 inch lip rise from the porch to the door to get the walker through the door, because that's a tripping hazard. Grab bars. That's what I'm saying. Just kind of being like a heightened sense of awareness to the environment that they live in. I think home safety thing. And I mean, obviously goes without saying, we want them to have the PERS. You want them to have the PERS. Their family members want them to have the PERS. It needs to be considered more of a standard of service than an ancillary option. Mm-hmm. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be part of the case management concierge, the wraparound care, to where when you get a new client, here's their case manager. This is what type of PERS they need to have. Now, what else do they need?
Yeah.
And that habit has to be there. And the more that conversation is had, the easier it's going to be to keep having. And the more people will be aware when they walk into someone's home that's in need of, okay, yeah, that's a potential hazard. We have, because you're building this client base and it's giving you knowledge and experience of your own client base to say, okay, we've seen this when we walk into this type of kitchen or this type of bathroom. Now we can help the next person. Mm. I hope that answered it. I'm a little long-winded. I apologize.
No, you're okay, Randy. Guys, I really appreciate having this panel and us being able to get this information out. I mean, I think we see the commercials, we know that they're out there, we just don't know enough details about it. And hopefully this will push out information to all of our caregivers, seniors, daughters, sons, nieces, nephews, whatever, case managers, everyone that's out in the community, other health professionals, to know what it's about, what we're able to do to keep our seniors and other people safe and have a peace of mind, especially during now. So any other if there's no other bits of information or wisdom for anyone, my bit of wisdom would be, make sure your floors are dry, because I think we've all taken a slip or fall here. Toys out of the way for my bits. Got too many of them. You're on mute.
Unmute. As the oldest person in this panel, I will tell you that you don't have to be 80 to worry about falls.
No.
I mean, I'm paying attention to, I really do pay attention to, all of those things now. And even though I really wanted to kill my doctor the first time, she said, as we age, I really felt like just bludgeoning her. She does say that often now.
Yep.
But we do need to pay attention to those things. And so I'm worried about falls, and I just barely turned 60 a couple of months ago. I'm
Oh, you're young.
What's that?
Yes, you are, Beth.
You're young. Well, Beth had mentioned during this presentation that, the stats of people falling 11 seconds. And I think I was doing some math. I can't do it in my head, but I was cheating. There's over, in this hour alone, there's about 5,200 falls. And it has happened throughout the country already.
Wow.
Amazing. In this hour that it took us, that's how many people that you had calls that might not wind up having to be in a nursing home.
Mhm.
Because they're going to get, you know, I mean, I think about how many people, my mother and father-in-law, and my mom too, we call them the Feet First Club. That's how they want to go out of their house. They don't want to be in a nursing home. They don't want to be even in an assisted living necessarily. And how do you stay safe in your own home? This is one of the ways you stay safe in your home.
Mhm.
You know.
Well, I appreciate everyone coming around. Thank you guys so much for everything that you guys do in our community and making sure that our seniors stay safe. And we look forward to working together for sure and continue to work together.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank
Thanks
you.
for having
Have a
us.
great day. Thank you for having me.
You too.